Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have an extremely special guest. Her name is Migena Agaraj, and Migena comes to us all the way from the other side of the world. I'm kidding. She's in New York City, and I am coming to you from Dallas, Texas. I have the one and only Migena on the show. So I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share this out because you will not believe two things. Number one, this lady's energy is off the charts, and number two, her story is incredible. So do me a favor and click that share button and share this out right now, and let's get 1 million people on here so they can all hear Migena's story. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And we are back. Let me bring Migena on. Migena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ken. Great to be here.
I am very grateful to have you here. We met recently through Glenn Morshower, my brother from another mother. And he said, dude, you've got to have this woman on your show. And I said, who? And he said, Migena. And then we ended up meeting because you were here in Dallas and we hung out. You got to see the worldwide premiere of Grumpy Old Santa. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Your energy is incredible. And I am really, really grateful to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine, and I'm honored, truly, because I'm sure when Glenn said you have to have Migena on the show, you thought for a second, I don't know any celebrities that which name it's Migena. I need to verify this. So I had to fly to Dallas to verify me. I'm just kidding.
I am I don't know who's Facebook user. Great to see you, Migena.
I shared it on LinkedIn. I shared it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApps. I went like,
wow. Yay. So Migena, I started this show about 5.5 years ago, and I've interviewed a lot of people. This was really, it all started just to help people have a breakthrough in life, and by hearing other people's stories. I really think that by hearing other people's stories of how they overcame hard times and broke through and succeeded, I think that really, really helps people. So why don't you start where you were born and raised?
Oh, I was born and raised in Albania, in a very, very small town called Hoxha Ere in the city of Fear. So it's a town with about 300 families. Think about that.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 12 buildings and a lot of land. And then, of course, if you drive about 5 minutes, you end up in the Adriatic, which is part of the Mediterranean. So that's where I was born and raised. And
how far from the Mediterranean?
It's probably not even less than a mile. Not even. It's just.
Oh, wow.
I'm right there by the water, and spend all my summers, or rather invested towards my happiness by the water 3-4 months out. It's not spending.
So you spent a lot of time in the Mediterranean?
I am from the Mediterranean.
I mean, in the water. I mean,
right,
like you were,
water.
swimming and
yes,
frolicking
and taking naps during, like in the afternoon, like after 11, between like 11 and 2 3 p.m., no one stayed by the sand, so all these families would go back into the forest. It's a pine tree forest, and that's where we would have our lunches and take naps and then go back by 4 or 5, because that's when the sun is the best, pre 10 a.m. and post like 4 or 5 p.m., and you get the best tanning in the world, and I'm not kidding, and it stays the entire year. So there's a process.
There's a process. So tell me what it was like for you, um, growing up there. I mean, what was
Oh,
it like as a kid? What were your parents, your family? What was it like for you?
ooh, so it was beautiful. Like, I had an amazing childhood. My dad is one of 10. My mom is one of 8. And I grew up with my paternal grandparents because they lived in the same town with us. I had an uncle in the same building where we lived, and many other uncles in other buildings. So pretty much I went to school from the first grade all the way to when I finished high school with, and I had cousins in every class. We had cousins. So I
Oh,
pretty much,
wow.
we took over the town pretty much. It was us and a few other families, and I'm not kidding.
Wow.
My dad is a carpenter, and my mother had a small restaurant slash cafe. So pretty much my time was wake up super early in the morning, wash the clothes, wait for the running water to come in at like 6 and between 6 and 7 a.m., rinse all the clothes, get ready for school, hang the clothes, go to school, and then go to the restaurant, give mom a break. And then after that,
Wow.
I would fix the house, cook for my parents. My brother was in high school in a different city. So when he was 14, he left. And I remember, I think that's the first time I cried in my life, when my brother left. Prior to that, growing up as a tomboy, I didn't, yeah, a pretty strong person, but I remember crying when my brother went to high school in a different city. So then, anyways, like, then after I would cook and clean, then I would go and hang out with my dad at the shop, which was about 15-minute walking distance. So my childhood,
How far? 15 or
yeah,
50?
1 5, 1 5.
1 5. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
1 5. And I'm sharing this with my mother. My mother is in Albania, and I would love for her to see if she can see us on this interview. So yeah, so childhood was amazing, amazing, amazing. The best memories. And at some point, we even had a vineyard, and we made our own wine that we sold at the restaurant. So
Wow.
my dad and I planted the vineyards together. Yeah,
Wow.
and I
That's
watched
incredible.
the vineyard come to life, and oh my god, it's beautiful. And I had chicken, and I had a cat, and I lived in an apartment building, so I had the best of both worlds. I felt like I lived in the city, but then you feel like you're in the farm at the same time. So I've been trained from an early age.
So growing up, your family, so you all lived in an apartment?
Yes, in a one-bedroom apartment on the first floor. And
So what, a one-bedroom apart how many siblings do you have?
an older brother, just the two of us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, but one bedroom.
One bedroom, one living room, kitchen, bathroom, and like a hallway corridor. I don't know how you call it. So my brother and I would sleep in the living room. And when he went to high school, then I had the living room to myself. So, we would wake up super early in the morning. And before we went to school, the living room was perfect for us to greet guests as a living room. But every night it would convert into a bedroom.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So did you not ever have a house that you
No,
lived in?
no, to this day,
Yeah.
actually, I've never lived in a house. I own a house. It's vacant. Yeah, it's another story for another time. But we, and it's crazy because we lived on the first floor in Albania, and when we moved to New York, we still live on the first floor in this huge apartment here. So it's just funny how we always lived on the first floor. And my mom hates the first floor, hates it.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's and it was so good. It's good sleeping in the same room with your brother, or my cousins would come over, I feel like there's something magical when all the children all sleep in the same space, and it doesn't have to be a living room. It could be us sleeping on the floor. I would sleep on the floor when I would go to my grandparents' house because there's so many of us, but in my own home, we had beds that converted into like couches. And yeah, it's a very Albanian thing back in the day. But as I was saying, it's a very magical thing um when you fall asleep. I feel like that energy that interacts with the other people's energies, and I feel like you end up loving your siblings and your cousins a lot more. Like that breath. I don't even know how to explain it, Ken, but
Wow.
feel like you're more connected when you even share the same bed, and but not necessarily, but be in the same environment. And I feel like, I think that's probably one of the reasons why Albanians are so close with one another, because we always lived in small homes, and we had no choice but to share beds, and or sleep on the floor, on roofs in the summertime for fun, and just
Wow.
keep one another. It's very different.
So and the reason was, I mean, so do people not own homes in Albania?
They do. Most of the towns have private homes, but it just happened that I was born and raised in a town with buildings, because this was
Okay.
at some point a piece of land, and during communism it converted into a small town with buildings. And the youth who helped build this town ended up either getting married, or they were brothers and sisters, and they moved their parents as well into this town, and they moved in into these buildings that they helped build. And then you create life, and then after that, it's very difficult. It was very difficult to then build your own home, because it's very expensive,
Yeah.
and people were making enough just to go by, and not even talk about savings. Like I don't remember us ever having a bank account in Albania, or let alone like that wasn't the lifestyle. But my grandparents on my mom's side, they always had a private house. So my summers, when I wasn't at the beach and I was in my mom's hometown, the entire town was full of 1 story, 2 stories, private homes. It just happened that I grew up in a building.
You said communism. Is Albania? I didn't know that Albania was a communist country. Is
Oh
it
my,
still?
no, it's not. Albania was a communist country for 50 years.
What?
Yes, and our
Isn't that
dictator.
weird that communism never works out? Like,
It's strange, right?
yeah,
50 years of
50
communism,
years.
and
How,
then
when did they stop being a communist country?
the dictator, uh, I believe he passed away in 1985, I believe.
Wow.
And then by 1989, when Berlin Wall fell, that's when Albanians also started to use their voice, because we all have a voice. It's a matter of us being suppressed versus not suppressed. And
Amen.
it was a time that we called it when the embassies opened. And what that meant was the US embassy opened the doors for a short period of time, and all these other embassies that were in Albania. And next thing you know, people would pretty much fight to go on the other side of the embassy, and automatically you are in American territory. And then a lot of people came to America, went to Italy. So a lot of
Wow.
tough times during the 90s in Albania. And that's when they elected the first party, the Democratic Party, which I think it's equivalent to the Republicans Party in the United States.
Okay.
It's called the.
So
Yeah.
so so that all happened way before you were born.
I was
So
born in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, actually. I won't tell you how old
oh,
I am, but yeah, yeah.
wow. Um, well, I didn't. That's okay. Wow. So, so growing up, I'm always curious. Like, did people talk about, oh, someday we have to move to America, or did was that a goal that a lot of people shared in Albania?
During communism, you couldn't speak about it because they would execute you and your entire family.
What?
Yes, and a lot of the families in Albania were executed because someone from the family escaped the border, and they would pretty much, let's put it this way, if you were from the north and someone from your family escaped,
Yeah.
the system would take your entire family, and it's called internim. I don't know how to say it in English, but pretty much you were punished, and now they would move you into the worst parts of Albania in the south, where you are away from anyone that you are blood related to. And you were judged, you were bullied, fingers were pointed at you. People could not be friends with you because the system then would probably hold it against them. But in secrecy, people loved each other and protected each other. And
Wow.
absolutely, during communism, you could not speak about the Western. And it's pretty much, I remember my parents working out every day to prepare in case the United States would invade us. And my mother to this day says, well, I wish they did. I'm like, why would they invade us? But it's to pretty much improve our lives. But that never happened, because why would anyone invade Albania, let alone the United States? So our dictator was considered the dictators with most slaves in the human history, because there were 3 million Albanians inside the Albanian territory in complete isolation. At some point, he cut ties with Russia, China, and Cuba because those were our allies. And then at some point, like, we completely were just this country with this imaginary wall.
Right.
So, and then had in soldiers in all borders. You couldn't speak about America. My father has an aunt who moved here during the war. They went to Italy in 1939, when, because Albania had a king prior to communism, believe it or not, and our
Wow.
king married Princess Geraldine of Hungary. So we were a kingdom, and then he fled in 1939, and that's when a lot of these high elite, high net worth individuals fled as well, took the money, the families, the people that worked with them. And my dad's aunt used to be someone that would attend to this very rich family, wealthy family back home. So the parents never saw her. She left when she was 12, and then from there moved to the United States. And my
Wow.
my father knew he had an aunt here, but there were no communication. So when the 90s and this whole democracy, I guess you can call it democracy, I call it chaos because it was a very tough time in Albania. That's
Yeah.
when letters started to exchange between the West, between all the people that had created families in the United States. Now they were reconnecting with their families back home. And my parents became friends, were friends with another family in our town from the north, whose brother lived in the United States. So when he came to visit his brother, my parents met him. And that's when the American dream began in our family in the 90s, where this
Wow.
man, may he rest in peace, he would say, one day you will come to America. And he was like, what? There's no way. There is no way. And fast forward 2003, my mother moved here through a lot of ups and downs in between. But that's how it started for our family, because of a family they were friends with prior to them even being married to one another. And so we've been friends for over 45, 50 years with them. And that's why we're here.
Okay, so so Albania became a democratic country um in the 80s then.
In the 90s.
90s, 90s. So the dictator died and people were like, thank God. Um and he and got rid of communism. That's good.
Yes.
So when and so you were young when communism died in Albania.
I mean, I was a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. I should know. I think he died in 1985, but I should know. But I
Oh.
did not live through communism. But definitely, he left a
On the
lot of.
backside of it, you were
He
there on
left
the back.
traces.
Yeah. So I'm sure that there were people though, because of cognitive dissonance, there were people there that probably still felt like, wait a minute, we communism can't go away. Like I'm sure there were plenty of people like that, I would imagine. Um, right. So after that, where so you grew up in that, you graduate, like did you go to high school? I don't, is that because high
Yes.
school sounds like high school's different here than it was there.
Uh, Completely different. I mean, I don't know what
Okay.
it is to be in high school here, but I finished high school in Albania, and then
Okay.
I moved here right after. Um, and yeah, and
You were
then
19 when you moved here. How old were you? 19?
yes, I was 19 when I
Okay,
moved.
so tell me about that. That's a really interesting story. You were sitting on the beach on the Mediterranean one day, and you're like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm moving to America.
That's not how. That's not. That's not how it happened because
Okay, so
one,
how did it go down?
I was on the top of a mountain. No, I'm just kidding. I
Yeah,
was I was like contemplating. I was like,
yeah.
okay. Um, I well, oh my goodness. Well, let me put it to you this way. One day you're back home worried and afraid that you will never get a visa to unite with your mother, whose visa
Mm.
was about to expire. And if she wouldn't come to the United States, then that means that we are stuck in Albania forever, and then we would never be able to make. Oh my God, Greg Walker, love you, Greg. Greg is
You
in the
know
house.
Greg?
Of course, I know Greg.
Greg is my brother.
Oh
Wow.
no, he's my brother. Like, let's
I
share. Let's
like
share.
we are from the same town, Columbus, Ohio.
I
Greg and
will.
I,
Oh
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
Oh, that's right. And he has the best grandson, Atlas. Like, oh my goodness.
yeah.
But
Greg's amazing. The big dreamer.
he deserves for me to interrupt my story and acknowledge him because he's phenomenal.
He
Phenomenal.
is. I agree.
How the world gets smaller, but pretty much, my mother's visa was about to expire. She's in the United States, and I was
Wait, I missed that. How did your mother end up here and you didn't? How did that work?
because you can in Albania, even maybe now it's easier, but back in the day, you couldn't just apply for a visa and express an interest that you wanted to move to the United States. And they're like, sure, yeah, absolutely. Here, open door policy. There's no open door policy. Um, and pretty much when my mother got the visa, I couldn't get the visa because I was 19. And usually they don't give visas to 19-year-olds because they know that I'm not coming back in the country. So it was a lot of hard work and sacrifices and many, many years of struggle to secure this visa for my mother. And then she moves here in January. I'm back home. And luckily, oh my goodness, I got a visa on April 15th. I think that's tax day for the United
Yeah.
States.
Wow.
And I remember being in front of the officer. And the way you know that you received the visa back in the day is they keep your passport and they tell you return at 4 p.m. Like that. That's like how you would know. And I froze. And then I had this cop tapping on my shoulder. He's like, Miss, you can come back at 4. I'm like, what? For what? He's like, to pick up the visa. Like, I didn't even know that I was granted the visa. And I was numb. I was so numb. And
So your mom was here. Where was your dad?
my dad was in Albania. My brother was in Europe. So we were scattered all over
Wow.
the world, pretty much. So
Wow.
I get the visa, Ken, and I tell my mother. Immediately, a week later, I jump on a plane. April 23rd, I moved to the United States. My mother did not recognize me. She's at the
Uh,
airport with the friends. She did not recognize me, and it's insane how we were separated for I would over 3 months. And then
Wow.
her friend would say, "Here is Migena," and she's like, "Where?" And I'm right in like literally, I'm right in front of her,
Wow.
and she's like, "Where is she?" And then she would just touch me like this, and she's like, "Is this really you?" And it's crazy. She tells me a story when she was holding a 1-year-old baby from the family that she was staying with. And she had received a phone call a few days prior from the person that was helping us to with the visa process. And I believe the conversation went like, "I can help you. There's no way I can get this visa for Migena." And my mother, literally, she's on the fourth floor of a building. She like literally almost jumped out of the window after this phone call. And then this baby is touching her face. His name is
Mm.
Jake. And then she just caught herself, and then she sees the baby and she's just like sobbing. And yeah, so a
Wow.
lot of emotional trauma there. But anyway, I end up in the United States from a
What airport did you fly into?
JFK.
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 Okay. You
Straight
saw,
from,
so you're coming in, you saw the Statue of Liberty,
no,
probably. Oh,
no.
you didn't?
Can you believe that to this day I haven't been to Statue of Liberty? To
Well,
this,
I mean, if you lived in New York, it would be a lot easier for you to see it.
you would think, right? I've been
Oh,
to
wait,
the.
you live in New York. That's right.
Oh God. Well, I moved from Albania to the Bronx, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is America." I was like, "Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
oh,
This,
oops, oops."
that is so funny.
We were staying with my friends, my parents' family friends, in the same building on the fourth floor in this building where we live now.
Yeah.
And I remember, Ken, imagine you're 19 years old, no legal status, no friends, no relatives, um, and the way people would pass time, you'd cook, clean, do everything in the house, and literally it would just be my mom and the lady walking just around the building, just to walk and talk about, because they have so much to talk about. They know each other since they're like 18, 20-year old. And
Yeah.
imagine me with these two ladies, with mom, who was, young at the time. She's young today, but just that. And then meanwhile, I'm
Just
thinking,
walking around the building?
walking around the building for like 3, 4 times, so you won't stay in the house the entire time, because what else can you do? I couldn't find a
Right.
job. My mom couldn't find a job. We have no legal status. My brother is still back home, back in Europe. It's just, I don't want to use the word depressing, but it was very, very scary. It was a very
Okay,
scary.
and this is in the Bronx.
This is in the Bronx.
Okay. So you're 19. You're not allowed to work, right? You're on a visitation visa, not a work visa.
Absolutely, it was a tourist visa.
Technically,
Yeah,
you weren't
tourist.
supposed
No,
to work.
no, no. Honestly, like, I was not on a working visa. I was granted a tourist visa, because you're supposed uh,
Right.
to visit and then go back. Otherwise, they would never issue you a visa. And pretty much, with the help of the family that we were staying with, their son-in-law was working in a diner in White Plains as a chef. So a few months later, he secured me an interview with the manager, the owners of that diner, so I could start working as a hostess in a diner. Um, and I remember wearing my mother's shoes, and a
Wow.
pair of pants that and actually black pants and a white shirt. Both those belonged to some rich lady. I even remember the brand. It was brand Theory. Very good brand.
S-
But I had no idea back then. All I knew, it's a shirt that fits me, pants that fit me. I was happy, and I had my mom's shoes who fit me perfectly. So
Did
I
you
sh-
speak English?
no, 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 no English. Just
No English.
no. No. I mean, hello, hi, but
Where's
no,
the bathroom?
not even zero,
What?
zero, like fluent communication. Zero, just a few words.
But so what did you speak? Albanian? Is that a is that
So when I moved to America, I spoke Albanian and I spoke Italian.
Oh,
Because I am from Southwest Albania, which is very close to Italy. So when growing up as a kid, we watched a lot
yeah,
of Italian TV. So you learn the language.
got it.
I go to this interview, they hire me. I have no idea why they hired me, but August 27th of 2003, I started working as a hostess in a diner. I remember the dates.
Wow.
My first paycheck was $189. I think it was for like 3 days. I think I worked like 27 hours. I'm not sure. And I remember the reason why I bring up this $198, Ken, is because I remember it being on an envelope. And then when you open the envelope, which I didn't open until I came home, I handed that envelope to my mother and I wanted us to open it together. And of course, the first day that I went to work, she was crying so much because in her mind is, here's my 19-year-old with all these dreams. Now she's going to work because we're starting from negative, not from zero, negative
Yeah.
$60,000 to get the visas to
How
come in.
much?
60
$60,000 for you to get a visa?
for combination of us to
Oh
get
my
this.
gosh. Wow.
And pretty much we couldn't afford to buy food, we couldn't afford to pay rent. We had people gift us sheets, pillows, mattress, dishes. I'm talking, we literally came to this country. I came to this country with a suitcase and $60,000 in debt.
Oh my Lord, have mercy.
So
And
when
all you have to do now is fly to Mexico and walk across the border.
and yeah, or swim.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's just yeah.
I'm
But
kidding. I'm not
anyways, so the this $189, which is the first paycheck I received, it it got me thinking because I'm from Albania and we love rounding things up. We're not, if it's 189, we're going to say here is $200.
right. Right.
we, that's how I grew up. We don't, you don't just give the pennies and then I'm looking at this paycheck and I'm wondering, why is it that I work hard, it's only week one, why couldn't they pay me $190? Let forget 200, but why 189? And I'm like, wow, what a great lesson. Because here you only get paid for what's on the contract, regardless how much more value you bring or how less of a value you bring. If the agreement is this, the agreement is this.
Yep.
And I was like, so if I work more hours, I can make more. So I ended up from working 3 days a weekend to working 7 days a week, 2 shifts. Ended up becoming a hostess for another restaurant of theirs, which was 20-minute walking distance within the White Plains area called Central Avenue. And now, if I wasn't at this diner, I was at the restaurant. So I'm on my feet all day in heels, seating people. All I knew to say was follow me to, not even knowing how to spell. And for a year and a half, I did that. And then I became a cashier. So I was in charge of all the money and the desserts. And then after that, they trained me to be a waitress. So
And so you're learning English
and
along the way.
at this point, I'm literally receiving my first ESL, English as a second language, working as a diner hostess.
Wow.
Just smiling at people. I made a lot of friends, and during the holidays, a lot of the families that would come there to eat, they would gift me a necklace. They would give me like an envelope with something for Christmas, because these are like, they adopted me, like that entire, judges, lawyers, a lot of Jewish families back there. I'm in touch with a lot of them to this day, 20 years later. They take me to dinner. Imagine three couples in their 60s and 70s at that time, and me, a 20-year-old, going to dinner together. Like, they would invite me and greet me like
Wow.
It's beautiful. They're like, we will buy you a car. Please don't leave us. Don't work in the city. So pretty much I worked for 3 years in a row with
But
no
wait, hang on. How far away from the Bronx is White Plains? And did you travel back and forth every day?
Yes. So I would wake up at
Oh,
5 a.m. I would wake up at 5 a.m., wash my very long hair. As you can see, I have very long hair, right?
yes, you
This
do.
would this would be like here on top, here wet. I had no time to dry it. I would walk to the bus station in the dark,
Oh
either
my gosh.
snow, rain. I remember back in the day,
In the
snow
Bronx.
in the Bronx. I would take a bus, and you would take me about an hour and 15, 20 minutes one way, and you would leave me right in front of the diner. And the last bus left that area around 11:30 p.m. My shift ended at 11, so I would wait for the bus. So this was my life for 3.5 years, taking a bus Monday through Sunday, no days off, not a single
Wow.
day off. I worked, I call it like 100-hour week, but literally when the owner would pay me, he's like, "You're taking all my money." His name is Bill. I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You're the only person who works like 80, 90 hours a week in this restaurant, and with a smile." And
Look who's watching. Look at the comment.
Glenn Morshower has to wash his long hair every day. Oh my God. Yes, I actually bought him an Albanian shampoo. We're working on it. We're working on it.
uh,
Glenn, I love you. So yeah, so that was my life, Ken. That was my life.
wow.
And we would hide the money in Ziplocs bags, in envelopes, inside buckets that had flour because mom
Yeah.
made homemade bread, homemade bread.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a bank account, and that was the only way space for us to save the money. And every time we would make 10,000 or 20,000, we would go and give it back to the people that helped us, landed us the money to come in this country.
Oh
So
my
pretty
God.
much, so pretty much we like lived on cereal for about 3 years and milk, and I would save the food because then my dad eventually gets here. He finds a job working as a carpenter. He was getting paid $60 a day. He's
So I have a question. This is out of left field. Um, did it ever occur to you that, here you are, this beautiful woman. Did it ever occur to you, like, maybe I should just find a rich husband and not have to work like this?
no, I
Why? I
because
would.
what, too late for you, Can. Yeah, forget it.
But
Yeah,
no, did it not ever occur to you as you're walking through the rain and the snow to the bus to drive to go and working, like, wow, I just need to find a rich husband?
I know this will sound very, very scary to some and very silly to some, and it's okay. It's okay. But not once, not
Glenn,
once, I was
Glenn
already
said,
taken. He was taken. Oh my God. Now we're getting comfortable. So
yeah. Uh,
so pretty much, my God, my hair is out of control today.
it looks great. Stop. Go
This
ahead.
is
Keep
freaking
going.
wonderful.
so
So
so you the
not
rich
one.
husband thing was out of
So I grew up I grew up in a family that is extremely strong and loving and caring and very, very hardworking. Like we earned every single penny that we had, we earned. And I mean, I earned it as a kid, uh, either working on the garden or being in my dad's shop or being at the restaurant washing the floors by hand and giving my mom a break. And when you come to America, it's no different. You just multiply that by 10x, 50x, 100x, 1,000x. It doesn't matter. I'm only 19. Absolutely, having a husband was out of the question. Like that was not in my thoughts. And my mother, being an independent woman, she did not raise me to depend on another venue in order for us to make our lives easier, because that's not who she is and that's not who I am and who we are as a family. I was just grateful that I had the opportunity to work 30 hour days. I felt sometimes, because I would go in this diner, I would go to this diner, and if I were at a university to learn English, I was at a bakery in the Bronx for 3 days, making $100 combined in 3 days. So my main goal, my focus, my goal is, let's get this debt out of the way. So then I can mark that day, the first day for the rest of my life. After that debt, it's paid off.
Right.
And that it's a whole bubble for me. And people ask me, like, what's your relationship with money? Because talking about money, it's not easy. And I always say there's days that I don't like money at all, and there's days that I love money. Because I remember moving in this country as a 19-year-old, going and working in this diner, falling asleep on a bus, banging my head on the bus, and then waking up with like a swollen eyebrow as if someone had beat me up, but it's just me being tired. And I would see the
Wow.
swallowing like 2-3 days later, and then like no one would believe me that literally I fell asleep and hit my head on the bus. And I don't remember, Ken, like I don't remember what I look like. Literally, I don't have a recollection what my face looks like, only that my hair was a lot longer. And I donated it to Locks of Love, about 13 inches, when I was working in White Plains at the hair salon across the street. And when I
Wow.
went back at the diner with my hair done, I just had a haircut. Everyone said, "Wow, you have really long hair." And I'm like, "What?" I just donated 13 inches. I would sit on my hair. That I remember, my hair, like it's like my strength, right? But I have zero recollection of what I look like. So if you ask that teenager, "Hey, what's your relationship with money?" I'd be like, "I hate it because I don't remember ever being a teenager. I went straight from being a kid to being an adult, and 10 years just went like poof, like I don't know what happened there." But then at the same time, it was because of money that we had this opportunity to get the visas, to come in this country, to
Right.
pay the debt, to have a better life, to live the American dream. If any of you still believes that there is such thing as an American dream, I still believe it.
Yeah.
It's,
So do
it's, a
I.
great, it's the greatest country in the world. I am blessed, and we make America beautiful, and we make America great, and it's a blessing. So when you speak to that Migena who maybe wanted to go on a vacation or have nice things, I don't know if I liked money that much because I had to go work for it. And
But McGenna, I've seen your Louboutins. So
when, when did you say? Oh my
I
God,
saw them in an interview. I saw you
you,
wearing them.
you're
Um,
terrible. Well, I
so
own I own about 5 pairs
of Louboutins,
of Louboutins.
and
I
you
own
don't
them.
like money.
Exactly. I
You
don't
know,
because
Nike makes some nice heels too, I think.
yeah, sure,
I'm
yeah.
kidding. I don't know.
I
Um,
I worked very hard for Los Louboutins
I'm sure you have, but
because
that
when
takes money.
it does, and that's why I say there's times where I am like, why does it have to be so harsh, this relationship with money? Because you look at yourself and you're like, really, my mother is making $5 an hour, my dad is making $60 a day, and I make $7 an hour, and the three of us have to work very hard, fast forward, so we can pay rent because of ABC. But then fast forward, I mean, it's one of the best tools, unfortunately and fortunately. So those were the days when I just moved here, but nowadays it's a little different. It's slightly different nowadays.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes, just a little bit
So
different.
so talk about, because I know that you're fluent in 5 languages now, right?
Yes.
What languages are you fluent in?
Well, I speak Albanian. That's my native language. I speak Italian. I speak English. I speak Spanish, and I speak French.
Wow. Wow.
Money enhances a pre-existing condition. Oh, yes. Thousand
Yes.
percent. 1,000%.
So you did this, you said, for 3.5 years.
Just the no days off.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
where did things go from there for you?
I
Do you still work at the diner?
sure, on the weekends. That's
Yeah.
how I can afford my Louboutins. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, right, right,
I mean,
right.
I in 2004 we were granted political asylum.
Okay.
That's when George Bush won the elections, and my mother had a case, and people would ask her, have you prepared for the case? And she's like, yes, Bush is going to win on the 2nd, I'm going to win on the 4th. I remember this is 2004 November. Her and I go to Penn Plaza, 26 Penn Plaza. She's granted the political asylum. Being that I am under 21, I automatically um, get the papers as well, which means now I can start college because before I couldn't. But it took a couple of years before I could start college because I kept failing the English essay part. Like I would pass the math, but I couldn't pass the essay because it's English. It's not my first language, and it was very difficult for me
Yes.
to communicate and write. So I started college by age 24. Went to Hunter College. Now I am working at the diner as a waitress. I take a sub a train. I mean, I take a bus, go to the diner. 7 a.m. I'm waiting tables. By 3 p.m. I get on a Metro North train, come all the way in the city, take a subway, go to Hunter, study all night, take a
Wow.
subway, come to the Bronx. So this is my life for another year. Now I am in White Plains, Manhattan, the Bronx, working.
And how much did you sleep back then?
I've always slept, I would say 4 hours. I've always slept 4 hours for the
Okay.
longest. And then because I couldn't do this anymore, I ended up working at one of the diners owners restaurant in Manhattan. So now I'm working as a hostess and then a waitress in New York City and then going to school every night. So now I started going to school Monday through Sunday because Ken, I'm in the plane catch up playing mode. I'm like catch up
Yeah.
with college, catch up with
Yeah.
life, catch up with language and everything. So
Yeah.
I ended up graduating in 3 years from Hunter College with an economics degree, minored in Italian, minored in history. And because I was exempt from languages and I loved them, I took French, Italian, and Spanish, two classes in a class. It's called fast tracking. So instead of you taking Spanish 101 one semester, 102 another semester, I would take Spanish 103 in one semester. And I
Okay.
would go to school for languages only Saturdays and Sundays all day. And then every night I would wait tables. So now I have a full-time job as
Wow.
a captain in a high-end restaurant called Milos, for anyone who may know of Milos in New York City. And then I would go to school. Then economic crash happens. I can get a job as a I guess not as a, because I had no idea what I wanted to be truly. But if I have an economics degree and I speak these languages and I have so much energy and love and work ethics unmatched for someone my age, especially as a woman, and the ability to connect with people and make friends and be that loyal person, because now I had a track record. Because who truly knows themselves unless we are put in these experiences and this environment? So this is why
Right.
I say to everyone, because they're like, hey, now that you know yourself, like what are you most proud of? I'm like, I look forward every day to getting to know myself better.
Yeah.
So me working, I got to know myself better. So now I knew what I would bring to the table. But then economic crash happens. I have zero experience other than being a waitress and a hostess and a cashier in some diner or some restaurant.
Right.
And I couldn't get a job. And I ended up working as a human resources recruiter for a real estate company in Manhattan. This was temporary. So now I'm wearing a suit every morning and I'm wearing a uniform every night.
Wow.
So I go from three jobs to two jobs in school to two full-time jobs with no break in between. So I could go from West Side to Midtown on a subway. So I needed that half an hour so I could make it on time at my other job so I wouldn't get fired. And about 9 months later, when this daytime job company said, "Hey, your last day is Friday," I was like, "Thank you." I knew it was temporary. I was hoping I would be permanent, but at least I have 9 months on my resume as being a human resources recruiter with 3 degrees in 5 languages
Right.
in New York
Jeez.
in New York City, and wearing suits, heels. As they would say later on, I learned you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I wasn't thinking on those terms. I was just dressing out of respect for Migena, her family, because when I showed up in the world, I represented myself, I represented my family,
Right.
and then respected the work environment. It had nothing to do. I didn't even dream of being a manager, let alone a CEO and dressing up like one, because I did dress up like one. And then they realized that I was an asset to their company. And 2 weeks after they let me go, even though it was in a temporary assignment, they called me back. I ended up working again with them starting on a Thursday. And then by Monday, I am now interviewed to become a supervisor in a Class A commercial building in New York City. And that turned into
Wow.
3 buildings. And because I didn't trust the company, I'm now wearing a uniform every lunch. I'm waiting tables at Milos, and I am wearing a suit every night, being a project manager, managing staff, and connecting and nurturing these relationships with our clients who manage these skyscrapers. Of course, a year later, I was promoted as a project manager at Goldman Sachs, the global headquarter. I went from 20 employees to 120 plus 30 employees overnight, really. I ended up not going to Milos anymore. I was offered to make half of what I was making. So here is Migena after 10 years of being in this country. I moved here 2003. In 2013, I started as a supervisor. 2014, I was a goalman. I was now making less than I was making when I was working in a diner. I took the biggest pay cut of the history. I was
Wow.
making I was making less than my employees. But again, I was in a playing catch up mode. I needed that for my resume, and sometimes you have to take a step aside in order to move forward. I never felt that I was taking a step backwards because money doesn't determine your character, your personality, your self-worth. Zero indication. It's how you feel inside. And because I believed in Migena and not necessarily on a company determining my value based on the salary, based on the hourly rate they were paying me, it had nothing to do with me. And that I knew. I knew because I worked hard since I can remember myself being 5 years old, that I was more worth more than whatever I was getting paid. It was just a matter of time. And it was another schooling or PhD for me. So after being a project manager with Goldman Sachs, I ended up being a project manager for Hearst Corporation. I ended up managing 20 million square foot of space in New York City, having over 20 buildings, clients, being a
And this
director.
was what year was this?
This my career now started in 2013, and
Okay.
between 2013 and 2021, I was in a 9 year journey of real estate where I had 5 different roles within the same company or different companies. I went from, like, every year, every 2 year, I went from HR to supervision, project management, area
Right.
director, director of business development. And then one day I decided to be a big girl and I said, enough of this. And I quit. I resigned.
So, let me ask you something. So what what do you think, if you could say it was one thing, and make this a short answer for me.
Yes.
What was the one thing that made gave you the ability to keep moving up? Because now you're in the six-figure income bracket. You're
Yes.
doing well there. What was the one thing that separated you from everyone else?
Self belief. I think that's what it was for me. I,
Okay.
I, I believed so much in my abilities, in my heart, and it was a matter of the right door being open for me or not. I
Yeah.
didn't always know that the door that I was knocking on was the right door for me, Gena,
Right.
but I knew I knocked for the right reasons.
Right.
that I knew for a fact.
What so in 2021 you said I became a big girl and I quit.
Yeah, yeah. I
You quit. You just said I'm done.
I'm done. I'm done. I literally was thinking and running the self analysis. My 20 year in this country was approaching, and I said, "All right, let's do a download here. Let's reboot this computer, see what's up, what needs to go, what needs to stay." And I was looking at all the accomplishment that I had done over the years, and I was somewhat proud, but I was actually very disappointed. I was so disappointed. I had realized that I had not honored my parents' sacrifices, my brother's sacrifices, him waiting 14 years to come in this country. That's a story for another time. Um, and I said to Migena, what's the worst that can happen? You can always go back and get another job. But if you don't try this, if you don't like literally go big faster and start picking up all those dreams that were collecting dust over the years on that shelf of dreams that I call them, you will never, ever, ever truly be happy. And I knew I wasn't happy because in every role that I had, I knew it wasn't where I was supposed to be. And that's the crazy part. You know, when you go into a job and perception has it that you're doing phenomenal, but deep
Yep.
inside you know you don't belong there, but it's just another step in order for you to get to the second floor or the third floor, because I believe in taking steps, and eventually why not take the elevator, but steps are important. So I was just taking steps, and pretty much I gave my resignation, and January 1st of 2022, I had no job, no income, not knowing where I was going to be and what I was going to do. Big, well, the pants were still size small, but yeah, Glenn says my life
Yeah.
decided to be bigger, put big girl pants on.
Uh,
Yes, that's the day. The day you decide, the day you give yourself permission to do better, to be better, not just for yourself and for others, and by magic, it happens for you. It's wild how that happens, and I didn't know that because all I
yep.
knew was pay debts, pay more debts, beg this company to give me a raise, beg this other company to see me and recognize me. And then I realized that I had gifted my freedom, and I had told all these companies, here, take my freedom, put me in jail. You decide when I go to Albania and celebrate my cousin's wedding. You decide if I'm going to go and celebrate a holiday with my parents or when I don't, because clearly I am just worked my butt off for 20 years. My parents worked all of their lives. They left everything behind, moved here because of you. And this is how you pay them back. This is how you honor them. You go and you allow a person or a company to dictate your future, to determine if you buy those Louboutins and feel happy or buy those Louboutins and feel guilty. And I
Right.
said, I'm done. I'm done because I knew that I could go back to a diner and make $9 an hour, if not
Right.
seven.
Right. So you left. What did you do? Where'd you go from there? I mean, you still have to have an income, right? You still have to make money. What did you do on it starting in 2021?
I leave starting 2022, which is last year. I live with my parents and my brother. We are one unit. We are extremely supportive of one another.
Yeah.
And I saved a lot. I never drank. I never smoked. I never went out. I don't remember ever going on vacations other than going to Albania to see my brother when he was there and come back home. So I am an excellent saver. I saved money when I was 5, 6 years old. Like even 20 cents that my parents would give me to buy a chocolate, I'd put them in the pot, and at the end of the year, I'd convert them into big money, and I'll tell my parents, "Here is the money for the turkey." And you know the story with the turkey, Glenn and
Yeah.
Ken.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll be like, "Where is this money coming from?" These are my savings. From where? You know, the money you would give me all year round, 20 cents a day. Do the math, 30 cents a day. Here is, or 50 cents. That's at the end of the year, $30 or something, $40. So being that I am an excellent saver, I have a lot of respect for money. When I resigned, I knew that I was going to rely on my family and I was going to rely on my savings. But most importantly, I was going to rely on Migena and her strengths, because I know I have strengths. I just didn't know how strong I was until I put myself in a different environment. So I ended up at a Grant Cardone Real Estate Summit at the end of 2021. I heard all of the success stories of people saying multiple exit, passive income. I'm like, what are these terms? I have no idea what they mean. I
Right.
felt so disappointed. I said, I want to create for myself multiple streams of income for my family, for my friends. I want to travel the world. I will be on TV because I've always wanted to be on TV. Like I've always, like my biggest dream as a little girl has always been to be a movie star. Like I imagine myself like an Audrey Hepburn, or I don't know how to pronounce her name, but just like
Who'd you
this
say?
Audrey H, that one,
Audrey Hepburn.
that one.
Yeah.
And then
That
just that one,
that
exactly.
one.
I would be
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, I see myself as a movie star. I see myself having TV shows. And then you come to America and you're like sitting people at a diner. And I'm so grateful that I did, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for all the blessings, because
Yep.
I was so protected from the moment I would wear my mother's shoes going to work. They were my shield, my strength, my protection. To fast forward, going to this Grant Cardone real estate summit, resigning, joined his real estate club, hung out with Grant for a full year on a weekly basis, learning multifamily. I became a member of a family office club. I started to connect with people, ended up meeting the executive producers of an investment TV show. Next thing you know, I'm in LA running the red carpet without having any experience holding that microphone. So I'm being trusted now with an LA premiere. Oh my God, like I get to be best friends with Glenn Morshower. I mean, come on. Like
No, you don't. You get to be second best friends with Glenn Morshower.
I'm the girl best friend. You're a guy. Oh
I'm
my
kidding.
God.
I'm
No.
kidding. I'm
And
kidding.
then pretty much I opened my own company, Eagles MA LLC, where initially started as real estate solution services, so I could be of service to the industry that contributed so much to my um, to my growth, to my personal and
Yeah.
professional growth in in this country, in New York City. And that's where I started to make a little bit of money through my connections, a contract here and contract there, so I could support traveling to LA, connecting with 5 people, traveling to Florida. So I've been traveling last year and this year, Ken. I've traveled more than I've traveled in the entire 20 years of being in this country.
Wow.
I had my 20-year anniversary in America, April 2023. And
Wow.
I want to give you a 60-second of 2021 Migena accomplishments and 2023 Migena accomplishments. So I went from, okay, fine. So you have a 6-figure job, you can travel the country, you have a business expense account, you get to play golf and close business on the golf course, pretend to play golf really, but look good in golf clothes.
Right.
That's it. To volunteering for St. Jude's, raising millions of dollars for these charities, having thousands of friends, but then you are in this apartment with your parents and your brother. Your mother still doesn't have her dream house to this point. I mean, if you want to just drop everything and take her in Dubai because she loves to go to Dubai, you haven't done that. She's been begging you for 18 years to take her to Turkey, you haven't. On and on and on and on. So I was like, oh my God. I paused and I told a lot of my friends, watch me. And literally, this is exactly what I said. I said, watch me where I take live, because live is no longer taking me. So in 1 year, I have published 4 books, collaborations. I'm on TV. I have my business. I took my mother and my dad to Istanbul for the first time in 20 years.
Wow.
Um, I speak on stages. I invest in real estate passively. I invest in real estate actively. I have my own mentorship program that I help my friends, because everyone is wondering, how is it that I connect quickly? They think it's quickly. It's not quickly. There's no
Mhm.
such thing as quick connection, instant connection. There
Right.
isn't. I know that for a fact, but it seems that way to the naked eye. So when I ran the self analysis on April 23rd, 2023, I was not scared to be with myself in full presence and get all those answers. You did this and this and this and this and then some, and many that you didn't even imagine, and all because I gave Migena permission to not dream bigger, because I've always been a big dreamer, to actually give oxygen to the dreams, because if we don't give oxygen to our dreams, they die just like
Yep.
anything else.
Yep.
So yeah, and it's only the beginning.
It's only the beginning. You have accomplished a lot in the last year, young lady. You've
Very
accomplished.
proud, very proud of the friends that I have met along the way. And even though my account wasn't a paycheck every other week, that's six figure, I've never felt wealthier in my life as I feel today. A lot wealthier than I felt yesterday, because I even met one, two, three new people yesterday as I had a meeting in Manhattan. So I'm like, oh my God, I met with three more people and I'm already going to have coffee with one of them this week. So that's how I determine wealth. And
Yes.
Ken, you are that person to me, for me. I feel very wealthy the moment Glenn introduced us, and I feel like you are your own bank account in the Migena system. That's how wealthy, because the one bank account cannot handle all the abundance that you bring to the table. And I mean it. I
Thank
truly
you.
mean it. And
Thank
I
you.
see your heart. I feel your hugs, and I feel your generosity. And when people ask me how is it that you connect with people, it takes two, because you can be a truly beautiful person in the world,
Yep.
but if it's not returned with the same, or if not with a bigger love, it's
Yeah.
not going to work long term. It truly it's not, because
Nope.
I've tried it, and I love hard and I love really hard, but it does not matter. So you, Glenn, and so many other amazing friends that are in my life are truly a blessing. And because I know you are counting on me on a daily basis to do
Yep.
better, to be better for all of us, I cannot show up in the world and disappoint anyone. So if you feel like you can disappoint yourself and give yourself permission to be lousy, reckless for a day, just go back to the friends who are counting on you, because there is that saying that goes, if you are not winning, who is actually losing? So when I go to work every
Yep.
day in the world, I want to be a winner, because I have a lot of friends who are counting on me. Friends and the people that we don't know yet, who are not strangers. They're just somebody that we haven't met yet. So I have so much passion for love, for life, for people, for humans, for beautiful humans, for knowledge, and I love my heart. I truly love my heart, and that's why, to answer your question from earlier, how is it that you went through from A, B, C, D, E? It's because I constantly checked on my heart, I checked on my ego, I checked on my arrogance, and I'm like, all right, check, 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 we're good to go. And even if there was the slightest hint that it would corrupt Migena, her core, I wouldn't want it. So my biggest success, it's never to lose myself in the process of any relationship.
So we are 8 minutes over what I normally do at this time. So keeping that in mind, let me ask you a couple more questions with some quick answers. Um, what's on the horizon? What's next for you? What do you want to accomplish?
Oh,
I heard you talking about finding a husband.
yes,
She's
yes.
looking for a husband, y'all. So
Well, it should be the other way around. It should be like, who's looking for a good wife? Because
right.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm looking for someone who's
That
looking.
can cook and wait tables like nobody's business.
Well, let's put it this way. I am looking for someone who is looking.
Right. There you go.
If they're
Right.
not looking, I'm not looking.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'll work
So
around their
what's
schedule.
on the horizon for you? What are you wanting to accomplish over the next few years?
Um, I want to have my business that I started last year be successful in the sense that it grows organically, and I create these opportunities for all of my strategic partners to be at the right tables with the right people to do business together, so they can generate more income and work towards that generational wealth. So definitely,
Good. So you need to change your relationship with money then.
yes, yes, absolutely.
You do. You do.
Yeah,
Just my opinion for
yes,
what it's worth.
that's one. Um, because I am an associate producer with America's Real Deal, and we're only on season 2. I envision
Yeah.
myself being a lot more involved with the show that I already am, and I envision many of my friends coming on board at different roles, wearing
Yeah.
different hats and many hats. Why not at the same time? And grow this TV show where many of us can flourish and help the show and help Americans flourish. So that's another big vision I have on the TV side. Like I love the
Yeah.
screen. I love the big screen. So that's another beautiful dream that I continue to work on. And I love speaking on global stages. I know I will be on global stages. So the way I will end up in these global stages is by continuing to be extremely humble and work very hard, and not be content that I know enough people and let's pause here and see what happens. So that's
So uh, when you were, you know, people, I love people that say I don't judge, because that's not true. We all judge.
everybody
Um,
judges.
we judge. I mean, it's like, I don't want to. You feel their energy. I'm judging your bad energy. I don't want to be around you. That's a judgment.
Mm.
So when you were working in this diner and all the other positions you've met thousands, tens of thousands of people probably. And think about some of the people that you were like, you just knew that they weren't going anywhere in life. They have no goals. They're not going. What do you think? And this is going to be the last question I ask you, probably. What do you think keeps people stuck? What do you think that in your experience and what you've seen so far in life, in your very youthful life, what do you think is stopping people from having? Look, I've been homeless and broke, and I've been wealthy, and wealthy is much better. What do you think is holding people back in life? What's stopping them from having real financial freedom and complete happiness, the whole package? What's holding people back? What do you say to that question?
In my opinion, people are selfish, and they justify all of their action based on the fact that they have children, they need that paycheck, and there is no way they could risk, because they don't know what tomorrow will bring. Because as far as I'm concerned, when you are hired in a job, there is a high risk and a high chance of you getting fired the next day. So why is it that people are feeling afraid to rely on themselves? Instead, they rely on strangers. So it's in my opinion, it's fear and it's selfishness. Truly, that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. They are just selfish, and they're lazy. They're lazy, and and then they wake up one day, 10 years go by, and when they cannot fulfill their children's and their families' needs the way they should be, then they blame it that, well, I became a parent at a young age, I couldn't do this because of this, because of that. So pretty much it's pure justification.
Mhm.
They're hiding, and some could be fear. There are a lot of people out there who cannot walk. There's many specific situations that their actions could be somewhat justified, but for the most part, when someone is capable of hearing, seeing, feeling, sensing, walking, breathing. Hopefully, everybody's breathing. Then the only reason why they're not going after their dreams and their goals, it's because they have these limited beliefs that they won't amount to anything, that they will not succeed because they already bring themselves into the future from a negative point. And of course, if you're going to think negatively, nothing will ever happen. So I feel like they need to blame one and one person only, and that's themselves. And I feel like a lot of people out there, they feel comfortable once they get into this job that gives them the five figures or the six figures, and they're content.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't and they don't like the responsibility, because let's be honest, Ken, and you know this very well, it's a lot of responsibility waking up every day not knowing how much money you are going to earn. And I was trained in the restaurant because there were days that I would show up and I was making $20 on tips, and there were other days when I was showing up and I was making $300 on tips. So
Right.
even though I was working at someone else's restaurant, I've always been on the unknown.
Right.
And people need to bet on themselves on a daily basis, and I feel like people are betting more on the employer than they are on themselves, and that's
Yeah.
where the problem is. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a W2. I loved having W2s, it helped me be where I am, but you don't need to stop there. So stop
I
being
agree.
a,
I agree with you.
yeah, so
I can't I don't like having a W-2. I can't, I'm not employable.
you're
So
not
I'm not,
employable.
I can't do it. But Migena, listen, first off, I just adore you. I think you're amazing. And Glenn, if you're still watching, I love you, dude. Thank you for introducing me to Migena. You are incredible. And I think that your story, from my perspective, your story, I've always admired people who are immigrants to the United States and come here and become extremely successful. Meanwhile, someone who's raised in the US, given all the opportunities, sit on their asses and do nothing with their life and live a mediocre existence. And I'm not saying, look, we need mediocre people in the world too. But I admire what you've accomplished in your hard work. And I also admire the fact that you're like, yeah, I didn't want a husband. I didn't want a man you just said, I'm gonna go figure this out on my own. And you have, and you're still figuring it out. I realize that,
Still
but
am.
you've done so well, and I'm honored that you came on and you've invested the time with my audience and shared your amazing journey, your amazing story. It's incredible.
Thank
So,
you.
Anna, thank you.
Oh, I am honored, and I know you bring phenomenal people on the show, and your time is extremely valuable, and you don't take this show lightly, and you bring here stories that will touch people's lives, because the idea is, when you and I are having this conversation as two friends, this is by no means an interview. The idea is for us collectively or separately to touch someone's life. And whoever is listening today, even if it's one person between today and infinity that hears my story, I just want to start by saying that my story is not unique. There are so many more heartbreaking stories of challenges, of mother never seeing their children, and the list goes on and on and on. But that's not the point. We're not leading with pain. The
Right.
idea is, we're here today. Today is October 18th. Is Glenn Morshower's wife, by the way, Caroline. Happy birthday to beautiful Caroline. It's October 18, 2023. And what are you going to do starting today? And if until today you had no one speaking to you or waking you up or shaking you or dragging you, then I feel like, you know, t- glue yourself, grab yourself, even in one sentence, even if one sparkle of my story that may speak to you, because I do know my story speaks to a lot, men and women, immigrant and non-immigrant. uh, and I feel like when Ken and I are having these conversations, and he's asking the questions that brings to the surface the past, the present, and the future, we do it because we want to help the world. Because in my opinion, Ken and I have had this not in my opinion, it's a fact that Ken and I have had conversations on the phone, but
Yeah.
when only two people hear each other's story, it kind of stays there. It's like very isolated in a way, and it only works for the two of us to strengthen our relationship. But the moment Ken's story and Migena's story come to the surface, and we say, world, take what you need, leave what doesn't serve you, because but don't flush it, because it may be something you will need tomorrow,
In the future.
in the
Right.
future,
Right.
and then go crazy with it. So his
That's right.
generous heart and my generous heart with the shares are here because we truly want to help the world. It's not because he and I have nothing better to do and we're just chilling on live social media. This is because we want to spread a stronger message, because the world needs beautiful people. And I have watched some of your shows, and the incredible behind the scenes interviews of very successful nowadays people who started
Yeah.
with a lot less than I did, than you did. And it's like, what's
Not
my
not not
message?
not many people start with less than you, but so, but I look, I again, I agree with you. The world needs to hear, excuse me, your story, and they have now, and they will continue to hear it. You're you're a wonderful, wonderful soul, and
Thank
I
you.
see great things coming for your future. So, again, thank you. I'm going to end the live stream, but thank you for coming on and being a guest today. If you did not share this out, please share it out and let the world hear this amazing woman's story. Migena, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you.
Likewise.
We'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day.